5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Weekend confirmed.
Ignition. Liftoff.
You guys are probably super familiar with miking, so this is your live return on your sound. So if you hear yourself fading away, it's because you're not on mic. Good, and you need to get back on the mic. Whatever you hear in the cans is what's going down on the digital.
Antelope Freeway, 3 miles.
Little Doppler effect going.
Get a Doppler going on it?
Yeah, you have to do the pitch shift.
You have to do pitch shift too, yeah. You got to enhance it a little bit.
Pitch it.
Right.
All right,
We
this
have
is
to
the greatest
throw the enhancement
pre-show
on there.
videos ever.
4 25-minute segments. Dave's the producer, he'll give us a 20-minute mark to where we will start sort of looking to wrap up. We don't have to hit 25. It's not radio. We don't have a hard stop. But we would, just to keep it in control, we try to go that route because otherwise, we have tens of thousands of listeners, and we try to keep them by not boring them to death. But go figure.
Good strategy.
So broken down into 4 segments, I thought that rather than, I thought we'd break the ice a little bit, get talking about some stuff so that when we do get into Reckoning stuff, which you guys, we have a ton of stuff to talk about that. We were already in the flow of things, so I kind of targeted that for the second block. I already said 3 freaking times. I'm just sitting here
Can we get a
4
count?
times.
I got a little
Push-ups.
I'm counting.
It's ridiculous. I have no idea how you did. How many 100 push-ups?
100.
That's only 10 times. Oh, 100. So you broke it 18 times.
Yeah.
Just 10 per.
Yeah.
In a 10-hour day, that's not bad.
I got really angry at myself.
That's only 1.8 times an hour. That's not bad at all.
I almost cut off my tongue.
I'd end up looking like some over the top heavy
Fantastic.
bodybuilder if I ended up in a contest like that. I'd be doing push-ups all day.
So we've been talking a whole lot about Skyrim, obviously, on the show. Last week, I brought up some of my reasonings for why it didn't make my Game of the Year list in our voting. And there was a tremendous response to that. We also have a sort of related news item this week of Bethesda finally resolving with Interplay over the Fallout license for MMO. And so I thought we would start there talking about these sorts of open world games, what sort of MMOs they would make, whether or not there's any reason for them to be MMOs, and then get into my points, which were about the juxtaposition of choice and game pacing, really is what it comes down to.
That's good.
You're going to need good concrete examples. Yeah.
I have good concrete examples, many Skyrim examples.
Okay.
Many-
Good. Actually,
many
great. Perfect.
Many Skyrim examples, and then the fact that I've yet to finish a Bethesda game despite my adoration of RPGs, because I always get too distracted by their side quests, which I think are too good for their own good.
And then what we have to say, is it the end of the game or the journey? And perhaps you are wise, Grasshopper, because you know it is you want to live forever and not come to the end of your experience.
Right, you're doing it to yourself, perhaps, is what Ken's saying.
Yeah.
Possibly. So we've got all that. There's a number of community. We're a big community show. There's hundreds of comments each week. So we've pulled some of the most intelligent ones to build off of on this argument. Sort of 3 points here. The Elvenstein, who took me to task for it, Lundash, who was on my team about it, and then Hockey Johnson, who sort of has the sort of the Ken approach, I guess, of it's a place that he loves, and that's not exactly why he's there. He's not just there for the missions. He's there for all of the great play that he gets out of the game in the first place, and creating his own journey. So we'll come back, and we'll have introduced a tremendous number of RPG elements that give you guys a number of hooks to talk about all sorts of what went into Reckoning. Mm-hmm. To me, sort of my take, I just got a build yesterday, and I played through the wells and am into where the game kicks off. Okay. So I don't have much experience at all. Obviously, I've only opened the wrapping,
the most linear portion of the game.
Most linear, right?
Yeah.
So we won't even talk about that part. So my immediate strike on it is that there's sort of these 3 elements to it that I'm interested how you guys are putting together, that I want to form the conversation around, of very action-oriented combat, very traditional role-playing roots of lots of systems, lots of things to do, character development in a massive scale, and then this World of Warcraft-like art style that seems to sort of play in a whole different world as well. Here's a very stylized art style versus of course the Oblivion world where we're accustomed to like a
photorealistic,
hyper realism,
yeah.
right? And then a very detailed game system, but a very action oriented combat system. So there's like two pieces that always go together, but they don't always seem to relate across the triangle.
Okay, great.
To me. So that's that. In the third segment, we'll get back on point with a little bit of what's going on in the world, a little more news and updates. We got Microsoft talking about their CES bragging. Jeff is also the editor of our Indie Games channel blog.
Correct.
And the IGF finalists were just announced, and I'd like to give those guys some love for all the hard work they put into that.
Yeah, definitely.
And we will close it out talking about some of Jane McGonigal's Reality is Broken stuff that came into a conversation we were having last week about gamer guilt. And we had some really interesting responses about that. And then a little bit of handheld conversation as well, because we've been talking a lot about whether or not the Vita has a hope in hell or not.
I love Jane. Tell me about the Gamer Guild thing real quick.
So the Gamer Guild thing is a subject line that came up last week where my usual co-host Jeff Kanata was lamenting his love of MMOs. So he was a big WoW player, actually went on to host a MMO podcast for a while called The Realm, where he was super sucked into playing it all the time, loves it, knows has addictive personality to that sort of game mechanic. He does do Skyrim as well. And he got away from WoW, and now he's playing Star Wars, and he finds himself really drawn into it again, and at the same time feeling a sort of, I'm not being an adult, I'm not being a mature guy, there's something wrong with me, and there's so many other games I could be playing, and then I'm putting all this time into it, but there's no payoff to it. All of those gamer guilt issues.
Right. So, yeah, the society is telling me that I shouldn't be spending all this time playing games.
That as well. So just a mix of things. That's only part of it, though. I mean, there's also an element for him, I think, I hate to put words in his mouth, but he has a play that's getting ready to run here in LA, so he's off at rehearsals. I think there's also, though, as much of an element of if I do this, I'm so compelled by being involved in it that it's breaking me away from other things. It's also disconnected.
The compulsion loop is a negative feature to him, whereas a game designer would say that it's a positive feature.
Yeah, I mean, would a game designer say it's a positive feature?
Compulsion loops are one of the tools that we use. Absolutely. In other words, if a game doesn't have a compulsion loop, there's something missing in it.
So I think that Julian P's comment here sort of sums it up, Jeff's approach to it, and this is one of the things we'll get some good conversation around. I think he says, Julian P says, but there's something about MMORPGs that make you realize the grand scheme of things. You're just so into it and just want it to be an all-consuming and fully enjoy the ride. And that moment you put in so much time into gaming where you consciously or unconsciously realize how much time you spend on hobbies and gaming in general, and it somewhat conflicts with your inner desire to be productive at life. And I love how he instinctually put quotes around be productive at life, as if this is not productive at life, is the moment where your inner self is gnawing at you constantly. So I think that's interesting. And then we had another comment up here to kind of work against that, where one of our commenters says, almost everything you accomplish in real life will have no more effect on the world 100 years from now than what you accomplish in your game. So, saying
existentialist
that, little existentialist of like what I'm accomplishing in my game is great for me, and it's as much accomplishment as anything I'm going to do while I'm here on the planet. So
yeah, I have a good short anecdote about that. I played Diablo 3. That was one of my first RPGs ever, and it taught me how to sort of min-max and sort of optimize my gameplay, because I wanted to get to level 99 all the time and build a better character, so I'd get to 99 or 80 and realize my path was wrong, so I'd start over. And at about my 12th character, I had it down, and I was able to jump my character so quickly through that whole level progress loop, and I realized I was getting so good at the game, and it was then sort of teaching me life skills about making my own sort of time, min-maxing my time with school or whatever I was doing, and I started applying all those lessons to my life. And the way I tell it is that Diablo 2 taught me how to not play Diablo 2. And eventually I just stopped playing. I started botting Diablo 2 because I realized I could get more done if I botted Diablo 2, and eventually I just stopped playing altogether. I tried to make it work by selling items on eBay and make it like productive to my life, but eventually it was like too much work for $35 a day, and I was like,
And I immediately think of the new real world money auction house that Blizzard's instituting.
yeah, because now that gives you the hook, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm spending time and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How would Diablo 2 playing you feel about that? Like, I mean, would that?
I would have.
Would you
dragged
still?
it
Would you
on
still be
much
selling?
longer.
Yeah.
I would have. It's because the hard part was setting up all the eBay pages and transferring items and giving somebody a password. But if that was all streamlined, I'd probably be making like $80 a day, and suddenly could fund my habit. Because
$80 a day, man. That's like 3 Big Macs and a bus fare.
perfect for college student.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. Except you can still get your classwork. All right, let's do a show.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
We can confirm.
Ignition. Liftoff.